before I start, I would like to thank the grace of heaven and the virtue of our masters and our predecessors and our transmitters that I have this opportunity to present this class on the what's called the White Elders 100 Filial Piety Scripture. Okay, that's kind of wordy, but basically, this scripture was composed by, well, he actually, there was already material on the about filial piety, and basically he annotated a lot of the information and put it into sort of like a small, I guess you could say, a scripture, and basically it contains a lot of text, but not that much words, but still you can see the whole outline that I've done, or not the outline, but the translations I've done, and hopefully you know, it will at least give you an idea of what he's talking about. Basically, this scripture, if you will, is basically composed by the Whitewater Elder, or our grand predecessor. Our grand predecessor had passed away in 1995, and basically he had, before he passed, of course, he had composed this scripture, and so therefore it's sort of like an annotation of all the other scriptures that Buddhas and saints had given us, and therefore he sort of like compiled it a little bit and basically came out with this what's called the 100 Filial Piety Scripture. Okay, so you can read the commentary that's in the black text. The blue text is basically the translation as well as the text itself of the Chinese. Okay, and of course, above the Chinese, basically, if you want to learn a little bit about the Chinese, there is the pinyin or the phonetics that's represented up on top of the Chinese text. Okay, so he now I sort of like did some. I sort of like numbered it, and each of the numbers has a highlight in green. Basically, that's sort of like the things that I will emphasize on, because after all, he covers up about a lot of things, and sometimes he sort of like repeats the same emphasis or the same things. Not really repeats, but he sort of like puts it in a different wording. But the important thing is that I will just try to highlight the ones that I posted in green. Basically, those are the numbers of the files. The whole text itself is basically wow, it's 18, about 39 or so, 38 or 39 phrases. I guess you could call it phrases. And so therefore I saw like some of the texts or the Chinese text itself, yeah, sort of like repeats some of the aspects that's said before. So therefore, that's the reason why I sort of like highlighted some of the stuff that I wanted to emphasize, because after all, it's sort of like it goes a little bit into repeating some of the meaning of the translation and the meaning of the text itself. Okay, so basically the letters in blue are basically the translation of the text before that, which is the Chinese text in traditional class. Oh, I could say classical or scripture the words, the Chinese words that's above it. Okay, below it. Okay, above it. Sorry. Okay. All right. So therefore, he talks about, okay, the main thing we want to talk about is basically heaven and earth, about filial piety above all. A single character, filial piety, brings peace to the whole family. Basically, it's, and you can read the commentary, I guess, that's below it. It's basically the emphasis on the fact that filial piety is universal and it's basically a foundational principle that's essential for domestic tranquility. Of course, now not only it will be under domestic, I guess you could say within the family, but it also goes into society and also governance of the nation. Okay. Anyway, so therefore, filial piety, filial children will surely raise filial. Yeah, filial children will surely raise filial children, which means the fact that the sons and daughters of the parents will become more filial, and also be able to, well, they will be able to brought up such that they learn more about filial piety, and so therefore they can also practice that to their parents and also any parents that's above them. Okay. And filial offspring will certainly be wise and virtuous. Basically, it just highlights the fact that there's an intergenerational impact of filial piety, and the fact that it's, well, I would say it suggests that it cultivates wisdom, virtue in the future, only because of the fact that they can carry on this filial piety throughout their whole life, their children's lives, as well as the lives of their own other children that they will have, to be able to continue on. Okay, all right. Filial piety is the first step of Tao humanity. A filial child, after passing away, immediately becomes immortal. Okay, it just means the fact that there is, it's based on the because after all, he's writing about filial piety that's based upon the Confucian philosophy, okay, or the Confucian Tao, that basically talks a lot about filial piety. And after all, filial piety, the word filial piety comes from the fact that, yes, it was borrowed from Confucius to express the things that we should do for our parents, and also all the parents themselves have their own parents, so to speak. Okay, we call grandparents and their grandparents. So this way, it's sort of like reflects the fact that, yes, this concept of filial piety can be basically intergenerational. Okay, filial piety is the first of Tao humanity. Tao humanity is basically what we call equivalent to like ethics of humanity. I'll call it that, because after all, Confucianism talks a lot about the ethics of a society or a person, from person to society and to the nation, etc., to the whole nation, etc. Okay, and basically, he is really expressing the idea that we have, as a person or human, we have certain aspects or certain, I guess you could say, what he calls the five constants, okay, of and eight virtues, five constants, eight virtues of humanity. And one of the virtues is the filial piety. And of course, he puts it as the foremost of the virtues. Okay, so and then of course, filial piety after passing away, immediately becomes immortal. Okay, basically just saying the fact that, yes, if you are a filial person, okay, and of course you live your life in the you live your life and practice filial piety throughout your whole life, and after you've passed, basically it suggests the fact that there is a spiritual reward for those who practice it. Okay, all right. Then of course number four is that's just a okay. Since royal time or royal yeah, since ancient times, loyal masters have often have loyal ministers have often been filial children. Rulers select worthy ministers by promoting filial and incorruptible people. Okay, so basically it just shows the fact that from a person, it goes all the way to society, which of course involves the nation, etc., or the world, so to speak. That basically filial piety from filial piety, it can basically go eventually go into good governance and leadership. So in that, it is the importance of the historical selection process that people had done in the past in the ancient times. Of course, nowadays is a little bit different, but the fact that in those days, the cornerstone of governance really is filial piety. All right. Exerting all our heart and strength to be filial to our parents. The essence of filial piety is not merely about providing food and clothing. Okay, because after all, when we were in the Dharma class, we've already talked about the fact that in filial piety, what we also know what are the four, I guess you could say the four stages of filial piety, of course, and part of it also includes providing food, clothing, and shelter, so to speak, for your parents. Okay, so it basically stresses the fact that the filial piety is about, it's mostly is more about sincere effort and heartfelt respect for your parents, as opposed to the material provisions. Okay, all right. Then of course, this next topic talks about the preciousness of filial piety lies in the filial heart. When the parents admonish, do not retort. Okay, basically, it really is the fact that the importance of the inner sincerity and encourages respectful the acceptance of parents' guidance, even when corrected. The idea is the fact that sometimes especially when we learn more about filial piety, uh, when it doesn't have to be parents, it could be friends or other people can may have some admonishes something of us, admonishes us sometimes about things about filial piety, and especially for our parents, when we the idea of like not retorting, it basically is to accept the fact that you need to first self-reflect on what you had done in terms of how the reason why you were given some admonishment. Okay, and so therefore, before you sort of like I guess you could say retort back, so to speak, or because you're angry, etc., whatever. Then you first need to sort of like take a step back and reflect on yourself. What, why is it that you were given that admonishment? And and then basically talks about the fact that other parts of the scripture itself will talk about the fact that you need to be more tactful, etc., in order to be able to present your own reasoning of why you had done something. Okay, and after all, it could be because of a misunderstanding or some other reasons that that the parent had not thought about, etc. Okay, so alas, humanity does not recognize filial piety. If the hearts or the people, the hearts of the people return to filial piety, heavenly principles will be restored. Okay, basically, it just talks about the fact that in this modern day, filial piety, of course, is still emphasized in certain societies, but not, I guess you could say, not every society. And so therefore, if, because after all, filial piety is sort of like the foundation, okay, of being, I guess you could say, human, so to speak. And so therefore, because after all, we're not just born uh, all all by ourselves. We had parents who basically gave birth to us, and so therefore, so basically, and then of course, and if the children grows up, and basically they will also have a family, etc. So therefore, it's basically is intergenerational, and so therefore, the idea of filial piety is something that can basically, well, I guess you could say last, so to speak, so long that the people uh, practices that or reveres that filial piety. And so therefore, in this particular time, in the 21st century, I guess we'll call it that. Yeah, not many things have basically, I guess you could say, devolved, if I can use that word, to in terms of societal norms. And because after all, a lot of people in the past have talked about the fact that uh, 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 the ethics are a lot more, I guess you could say, better in terms the past. And so there, because after all, you looked at the society today in this Western society, in the past, we always say that, oh, okay, just a handshake to, with a person will sort of like bind you to your whatever actions you want to do, whether it's a contract, etc. And or sometimes we say, the uh, a word itself or a saying that about an agreement or disagreement will basically be that's what your word is, and it's bond, the person is bonded by their words. But again, that's in the past. And so therefore, now we have a lot more, it gets a little bit more complicated, so to speak. All right. Okay. Okay. Not letting things go wrong due to lack of filial piety. How how do you know that filial piety cannot move heaven? Okay, basically, when we talk about the fact that how things go wrong because of filial piety, because after all, when you talk about differences of people who have differences of opinion, especially since it's based on if we sort of like respect the filial piety aspect, of course, you need to really look at not only your own standpoint, but the other person's also. And so therefore, the way you have these, I guess you could say, interactions or conflicts, uh, and how they can be resolved is based on what you understand about filial piety itself. Okay. Now, in terms of how filial piety can move heaven, it's because of the fact that filial piety, from the heaven standpoint, um, we're from yeah, I guess you say from the heaven standpoint, saints and Buddhists what came uh, came into, I guess you could say, came into being in terms of fact that they were originally what? Human beings. Okay. And so therefore, from their standpoint, when they look at humans, humans in the world, so to speak, of course, then they also reflect upon the fact that yes, these are the I guess you could say filial piety is sort of like the foundation of being a person or human, so to speak. So therefore, they will basically look upon it. I guess you could say differently for now. Okay, basically it talks about it later about certain more emphasis a little bit more about the certain aspects of it, and so therefore they basically will know basically how they can, I guess you could say, try to resolve the things that were, I guess you could say, in conflict. And so this is the reason why it'll go on later on talking about certain aspects. Okay, all right, and I won't go into that right now. Okay, so let's see. Filial piety is a noble path with no other secrets. Filial piety makes no distinction between gender, so to speak. Yeah, because after all, filial piety is sort of like the foundation of, I guess you could say, being ethical. And so therefore, yeah, it's there's no I guess you could say secret teachings or sayings or practice, etc. Basically, it is the fundamental aspect of becoming person. And also it doesn't, what you call it, it's regardless of gender, so to speak. And so therefore, both male and females must abide by it because after all, it's part of, I guess you could say, our own Buddha nature. All right. good fortune and prosperity all obtained through character of filial piety. Heaven will look upon filial children with special regard. Okay, so and basically this repeats what was told earlier. Okay, good fortune and prosperity. Well, basically, it comes down to the fact that how we practice filial piety. Okay, if we really practice it well, okay, then of course things will go well, so to speak, or more smoothly. Let's put it this way, within societal interactions. Okay, and so therefore, if things go smoothly and well, then of course, basically it's sort of like an accomplishment of our own filial piety. And of course, in terms of heaven, we'll look upon filial piety with special regards. It's basically just saying the fact that, yes, heaven meaning saints and Buddhas, okay? And basically they were already originally people or humans, etc. And so therefore they became I guess you could say got that status, so to speak, in terms of immortal, so to speak. So therefore, they also regard this aspect of filial piety as something that's very, very fundamental, and also it says about with special regard the fact that they also try to have more, I guess you could say, not just blessings, but also the fact that they will assist if you in whatever they can to uh, help people who really practice filial piety. Okay, everyone should be filial to your parents, of course. That's sort of like a given. Okay, but yet, it's not. It's something that sort of like got lost in this present day, and of course when we respect or be filial to our parents, it's basically the same thing as respecting our heaven. Because after all, the practice of filial piety in human terms, it basically, when you're filial to your parents, okay, or your grandparents, etc., basically is a reflection of the way we reflect upon God or heaven. Okay, because after all, in the Tao, we all say that from this from this Tao, basically we have this Buddha nature, and of course we something, especially lecture Kai talks about something about the one. Okay, basically means become whole, so to speak, or even in Buddhism, it talks a little bit about it. The fact that um, we are all uh, I guess you could say part the spirit of God. Okay. And so therefore, the fact that we have individual Buddha natures itself, basically, we are basically also being filial to our God or Heavenly Mother to through the expression of practicing filial piety within the human realm. Okay. Okay, and then of course, the filial child's mouth speaks words of filial piety. A wife says, a filial wife's face carries a filial expression. Okay, that basically it just talks about the fact that when a person is very filial and practices filial piety, then of course it basically expands into the family itself, and so therefore even uh, a wife or husband, so to speak, can also basically express filial piety within what they do. Okay, all right. Being filial to in-laws, okay, that's a little bit extended family, so to speak. On the husband's side, also earns one's reputation as being filial and virtuous. Okay, it just means the fact that, yeah, I guess the commentary is basically the highlights. It highlights the extension of filial piety to also we'll call in-laws. Okay, I think it's in-laws. Okay, and so therefore, after all, filial piety comes from the individual self, and therefore you can, through filial piety, through the way you practice filial piety, it can then I guess you could say influence those around you, and therefore it, of course, includes the in-laws, and hopefully eventually it will be society. Okay. Okay, for a woman to gain good name, okay, she must first learn filial piety. Among the three obedience and four virtues, filial piety comes first. Okay, there is let's see, that was in the during the time of Confucius. Uh, Prior to the birth of Confucius, basically, there were also various books about I guess you could say, ethics and filial piety, and so therefore, the 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 part about three obediences and four virtues is part of the books that that, uh, 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 let's see, maybe I should go down to the bottom. Let's see, that's 15. Okay. Basically, it's talking about especially for the female, okay, the three obediences and the four virtues. Okay, it's sort of like very, I guess I can say, very ancient books, or is recorded in what's called the Book of Etiquette and Ceremony, as well as the in the rites of the Zhou, because that's the Zhou dynasty that was like approximately, oh gosh, about like 2,500 years ago, so to speak. Okay, and basically they had several instructions about these things, and especially it's for the ladies. Okay, and it talks about three obediences, which the obedience, between marriage, before marriage, after marriage, and also, the family itself, and also the four virtues. Four virtues is basically um, uh, instructed on during the time of the Zhou dynasty, and basically it's when people, a lot of women who were, I guess you could say, work in the palaces, so to speak, need to uh, uh, have certain virtues. Okay, I'll just call it that. All right. Okay, let me go back. Okay. All right. Okay, then of course, filial piety is on respect from people in the community, at home, and also it brings joy to young and old. Okay, the idea of the fact that if you practice filial piety, and not only in your heart, of course, it comes from the heart first, and so therefore, the outward practice of filial piety basically can influence everyone. Okay, so the community itself, whether it's at home and also whether the people who's young and old. Filial child encourages others to be filial whenever they meet, and filial piety transforms customs, leading to upright character. So the idea is the fact that, yeah, when you can um, have even the young, so to speak, encourage others to be filial, then therefore it can, through through your actions, it can basically, uh, I guess you could say, be like a role model to this practice. So therefore, through your practice filial piety, it can then influence many others to be, whether it's young or old, to be able to sometimes even to transform this customs, the customs of the day. Okay, because after all, the customs is also like tradition. Okay, and sometimes because after all, certain societies have certain traditions or customs, and so therefore it may not be aligned to what's called the way in terms of a cultivator for the standpoint of the fact that when we have to emphasize certain aspects of cultivation, and sometimes it can, even conflict with the traditions or customs of that particular period or time. Okay. Okay. While alive, filial piety reputation is highly valued, and after death, filial piety can pass through eternity. Okay, it just talks about the fact that the first aspect that when person is very filial and after passing away, they become like immortal. Same thing, the same idea. Okay, because after all, when you're a person who is very filial, okay, and basically it's sort of like I guess you could say sort of like leaves a legacy and for prosperity, so to speak. And so therefore, this way they will be remembered, so to speak, for their actions or their behavior during the time that they were alive. In dealings with the world, only filial piety is great. Only filial power is great. Sorry, filial piety can move heaven and earth. Okay, or earth and heaven. Okay. So basically, it talks about the fact that I mean, I guess you could read the commentary affecting both earthly and cosmic realms. Okay, that's a good way to put it. The idea of the fact that if you practice filial piety within this world, so to speak, basically it can affect both heaven and earth, because after all, heaven and earth basically means the fact that in the earthly realm, so to speak, we have also spiritual beings, and it's those especially when we talk about the Eastern cultures, they have what's called the some aspects called the Matsu or the 土地公. Basically, that's sort of like the the people who became immortals and basically have a certain responsibility in this earthly realm. Okay, and of course, the heavenly realm is basically the immortals that's in heaven, and they're like equivalent to the saints and Buddhas, and so therefore they, because after all these people were originally what? People, humans, and so therefore they know the fact that, hey, this filial piety is really something that should be, I guess you could say, uh, placed in high regard, and so therefore they would basically have people to be able to be, they will be able to sort of like I guess invisibly help. Okay, for these people, these people. Okay, unfortunately, I won't be able to get over this whole thing, but maybe I'll just do what I can. Okay, the classical filial piety and its writings encourage filial piety to be filial to the father, the son, and the ancestor. Okay, basically, in the Confucian time, basically there's something called the Book of Rites, and so therefore it talks about a lot of or basically, it emphasized, so to speak, the idea of the fact that you should be filial to your, I guess you could say, you'll call it your ancestor, and besides the parents, and so therefore, a lot of the Western societies sort of like construes it as like, oh, basically it's equivalent to like ancestral worship, etc. No, that's really not that's not they got the wrong idea, so to speak. All right. So therefore, it basically illustrates the fact that the whole idea of filial piety in the human term basically is based on what Confucius talks about, the eight virtues, and so therefore the foremost, if you will, of the eight virtues is what? Filial piety. Okay, and parents give birth to children primarily for filial piety. To be able to be filial is a good son. Okay, okay. I guess you could say the interesting link between the good child and being filial. All right. It's not to say that parents want, of course, every parent wants to have children who are what? Filial. Okay, but of course, in order to what? Have them learn filial piety, the child, so to speak, or the children will what? Learn from their parents. Okay, so therefore, if these parents are filial themselves, because after all, they're filial to their equivalent to the grandparents, so to speak, then they can, I guess you could say, teach these the children to also be filial. And so therefore, being filial, of course, means the fact that the family can be more harmonious with has harmony within the family, and also eventually, uh, uh, I guess you could say, influence society itself. Okay. Wow. Okay. All right. If a person, if a person can be filial to their parents, their next generation of children will reciprocate in the same way. Okay, so basically, it just repeats what I said earlier about the fact that it could be intergenerational, in the sense the fact that when you are filial and you practice filial piety, okay, as a parent, of course, then of course you can have people or teach the children to also have filial piety or be filial. And therefore, now filial piety is not only just all between parents and children. No, of course, it talks about I'll talk about it a little later. It talks about the fact that also siblings. Okay, so whether it's sons and daughters. Okay, and so therefore, if you have these things that are in harmony with the family itself, then of course the whole mention of the fact that the family will be at peace or society will be at peace, the same as the fact that when you have a core people who are practicing filial piety, then of course they can influence others. Okay, outside. Okay. If a person has not served one's parents with filial piety, let the unfilial not blame heaven and earth if they suffer hardships or poverty. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I guess the commentary is basically warns of negative consequences of those who neglect filial piety. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes, when we have certain, well, hardships, or whether it's poverty or not, okay, any hardship that you saw, like that one has in one's life, can come from different things. Okay, your own karma, okay, and also the karma that you have with the people uh, uh, um, uh, within you. So within me, you mean the fact that whether it's the parents, children, or friends, or people you know. Okay, basically, it has a lot to do with these things. But yet, some of it can be, well, one aspect of it is also based on filial piety. So therefore, yeah, you know, I guess you could say you need to really reflect upon what your life is, and sort of like figure out or try to find out that you have certain influences from outside that influences you to do certain things, and also basically how you basically, I guess you could say, uh, uh, adjust yourself to be able to not only go with the flow, not go to the go with the flow, but rather to correct yourself to become better. All right. Okay. Filial child's face carries an aura of great harmony. At home, they are filial. Outside, they are respectful to elders and naturally leading to peace. Okay, okay, and of course, I'll continue on because of the time constraints. If filial parents are alive and one does not know filial piety, of course, after your parents die, then knowing filial piety will be filled with difficult regret. Okay, the idea is the fact that when your parents are alive, uh, oh, sorry. Oh, the first thing is the a filial child carries our harmony, great harmony, and whether it's within the family itself and also within society. Okay, and whether not only out in this aspect of society, they respect their elders, and also basically, which is naturally leading to peace, is the fact that when you have a harmonious relationship with society itself, okay, this way you can what what they call is leading to peace. Basically, the idea of the fact that you won't have I guess you could say, it's not to say no conflict, but you will have less conflicts, and also less contention. Okay. And then the idea of the fact that if parents are still alive, you need to still learn or practice filial piety. And because after all, we all have I guess you could say, time limit in terms of this, the time that we have in this world. And so therefore, if you haven't learned about being filial, then of course, once these people have left this world, okay, your parents, then of course, you sort of like have a lot more regrets in terms of, because after all, when people, for example, when we go to the funeral or whatever, we reflect upon the person's life in this world. And so therefore, in the aspect of our parents, basically we reflect upon our relationship with our parents, and basically how we have, I guess you could say, um, uh, been with them in terms of our filial piety. And so therefore, if you really don't know that, then of course, all you can do is just have regrets about what you should have done uh, when they were still around. Okay. Filial piety is in the heart, not in the parents. Filial piety is not is precious in action, not in words. Okay, basically just emphasize the fact that it's based on the heart. It comes from the heart, so to speak, and so therefore the outward aspect is the practice of this filial piety, and of course, many people, a lot of people talks about in words, but all you can do is just reflect on the person that's presenting these sort of like instructions about filial piety, and also look upon how does he actually practice that. Because after all, you need to do the walk is supposed to do the talk. Okay. Filial piety harmonizes the family, brings joy to the whole family. A filial child governs the nation, bring peace to all the people. And basically, just emphasize what we said before about the fact that, you know, um, the filial piety comes from the individual first, and especially the children. Okay, and then it harmonizes the family, because after all, it basically, filial piety is also part of sibling, between siblings also, because after all, you have, sometimes you have an elder and a younger, okay, so to speak, child, and whether it's, or unless you have twins, siblings, twins, but the fact that, one comes first, then the other, okay, and so therefore, it also governs the aspect of siblings. I think it talks about it a little bit later. Okay, anyway, okay, filial piety also, the idea of the fact that, if you're filial, whether in words and deeds, okay, or practice, basically, you can basically equivalent to like governing a nation, to be able to really uh, have everyone become like a role model, to so that everyone who can follow can follow. Okay. Downfall of ours are due to filial piety. A year of filial piety is a year of great peace. Okay, well, that's the idea, the fact that the bountiful harvest, okay, due to filial piety, because after all, you can say, wait, what does that have to do with filial piety? Well, it basically comes down to what if you have filial piety, if you emphasize, let's put it this way, if a society emphasizes filial piety, and so therefore it will govern the people in the society to be able to know their place within society, and so therefore they will have more I guess you could say, harmony and cooperation within each other. And if that's the reason why about the bountiful heart. I remember the time when I was, I don't know, I saw a movie, okay, about some Amish, 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 it's called Amish societies. You know, when a person, or let's say he wants to build a barn or whatever, what does the Amish society or the community do? Of course, they what? Volunteer to go and help, etc. Whether it's the whole idea of the fact that when you have these people who are able to help you to be able to do certain things, okay, whether it's building a barn or whatever, or harvesting or whatever, then of course, the fact is that you have cooperation with all the others, whether they know you or not. Okay, and the whole idea of the fact that through filial piety, you can create that society. Okay, and now of course, uh, the Amish is not. It has their own filial piety, but they also, have a sense of, like, you could say, unity. I guess you could say unity. The fact that they are able to cooperate with each other to be able to do certain things. Okay, being able to being able to be filial is not dependent upon poverty or wealth. Understanding parents' heart well is a filial sin. The whole idea it talks about the fact that in order to really practice filial piety, it really comes from the heart itself. And so therefore, if you have to, if you're really a filial person, you will be able to understand your parents' heart and mind, so to speak. So this way you can sort of like maybe sometimes anticipate things that the parents will say or do. Okay, and so therefore, and the fact that it's not dependent on poverty. Well, yeah, because after all, it's not based on wealth or poverty that you have that basically determines whether you should be filial or not. No, it's a fundamental aspect of becoming a person, being a person. Okay, harmony among siblings is also filial piety. The two words tolerance and concession complete filial piety. Okay, basically it just means the fact that, yeah, within siblings, of course, you also have what? There's tolerance and concession. It's because after all, it's equivalent to like a give and take. Okay, so therefore, you need to basically have this way. If you have a certain, I guess you could say, equivalent to give and take within siblings itself, basically you can have a very harmonious relationship with your siblings itself. Okay, and of course, true filial piety is seen in difficult situation. A filial expression of one's faith respects parents. Okay, um, seen in difficult situation basically means the fact that when you have conflicts or whatever or disagreements, you can look at the two people who are interacting with this interaction or conflict. And basically, from that, you can really, I guess you could find out that, whether a person, these people have filial piety within them. And this way you can sort of like get an understanding or be able to resolve or whether they can resolve this situation or not will be based upon what their own understanding of filial piety is. And the fact that they a filial expression of one's faith respects filial parents. Parents basically just means the fact that, yeah, when the fact that if you really are filial or have practiced filial piety, then of course it reflects upon what you as an adult will do in terms of what I saw it reflects what the parents had taught you, and so therefore this way you can know how you should, I guess you could say, resolve in terms of the conflicts or the disagreements that you have with the other party. Okay, when parents are both alive, it is precisely time to be filial. Think of a filial piety of widows and parents who are solitary, whose shadow are solitary. It just means the fact that, yeah, for those who are, I guess you could say single parents. Okay, yeah. The fact that you have originally two parents, and then so therefore now you're now down to one, so to speak. Yeah, it sort of like highlights the fact that, yeah, you need to really be more or have more, put more effort into filial piety, especially of the last the last parent, so to speak. Okay, and so therefore you need to really I guess you could say practice and cultivate that, okay, more stringently. Okay, hasten to be filial as time flies quickly. Parents' well-being depends on my filial piety. Their lifestyle is dependent by heaven. Yeah, which is true. After all, we don't really know when we'll leave this world, so therefore it's important that you uh, learn and practice this filial piety while you have the chance. All right, being filial. Being able to be filial while alive is true filial piety. Trying to be filial after death is in vain. Okay, that basically just erases the fact that, yeah, you know, your parents are, when they're alive, you need to really be filial and practice filial piety. Okay, all right. Filial piety must be passed on, must be passed on in the family. Filial character is gentle, and the taste of filial piety is sweet. All right, I guess you could say, you know, describes the, I guess, the desirable, gentle qualities of filial piety. But the important thing is the fact that it brings harmony within this family, and therefore it can influence society itself. Okay, wow.
Hey, Ray, I'm sorry to intercept, but I think our time is up. Would you like
Yeah.
to conclude it?
Okay, yeah. Okay. Basically, the conclusion is I'll just read the last part of it. Basically, just the powerful conclusion, emphasis of immense scope of filial piety is just absolutely necessary for human ethics. That's the important thing. Okay, and the protected beneficial power of reciting this text is very important, because after all, the last part talks about the fact that you need to recite, you know, well, the sutra, so to speak, but the idea is the fact that you need to really learn about filial piety. And the whole idea is the fact that filial piety is the foremost of the virtues, inner sincerity over outward show. Okay, respect and obedience of people. It encourages people to listen to and respect their parents, guidance, harmony within the society, because in the family, and also it will go out into society. So therefore, the transforming power of filial piety is the fact that, you know, through oneself, one can go through the whole idea of society itself. And filial piety is also very important in daily life, because after all, the last lecture that Lecturer Xu had mentioned about the fact that Tao in daily living basically includes a lot about filial piety. And filial piety, of course, is a continuous practice. Okay, it is sometimes that it's something that you need to be constant in terms of what you do. Thank you very much for listening to this presentation. If I said anything wrong, I hope the transmitter, I mean the Buddhists and saints and the transmitters and lecturers can make some corrections. Thank you.